Oh, something's just happened here. Hold on. Let me just fix this. Right. Okay. Yeah, there was a problem with one of the Facebook pages. Right, guys. So we're moving on now to Newcastle and Burnley. Now, I went 2-1. You can see actually there's quite a few. The next three results, actually, I was out by just one goal. And this is
Mm.
one of them. I could easily see a Newcastle win here. I like what they're doing. Burnley, though, I agreed with you guys. Burnley are going to capitulate this season. There's no two ways about it. I don't see them doing anything good. So, Ian, where did you see this one?
Well, yeah, I mean, similarly, I thought a 2-1, same as yourself. The guy I feel sorry for in all of this is Sean Dyche. I mean, Burnley, I think I'm right in saying, are the only team to have not signed anybody. They're always solid defensively, but they need to stay healthy, which they're not particularly at the moment. So they're understaffed and everything like that. They can't afford injuries. And when they come along, they're always going to suffer a little bit. And they just struggle to score goals. And this season, I think we're only 4 weeks old, but I think it's become apparent that the teams that are struggling at the moment are those teams that lack an out-and-out front man or supply to the front man or able to do that. And teams that are only going to be able to score one goal a game are the ones that are going to be in trouble. Hence, we see Burnley, West Brom, Sheffield United all camped down there at the bottom at the moment. And I mean, Chris Wood's a great striker, but he needs service, which he hasn't been getting at the moment. And yeah, I think they are really going to struggle. Newcastle, be interesting to see whether they can keep this going. I mean, they've signed obviously a fantastic double act in Fraser and Wilson, who are coming to the party already. And Wilson's always going to get goals, but he can be a bit streaky. So they're obviously riding the hot streak at the moment. But I don't know whether they'll be able to carry it on. But I mean, they've made some shrewd acquisitions. So, you could easily see them being maybe just below middle table by the end of the season. But yeah, Burnley are in that little group of strugglers that if they don't find someone who can score goals for them, they're going to be fighting it out for relegation for the rest of the season, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And Callum Wilson got 2 goals as well. He looks a really good striker. For all of you Barclays fantasy football fans out there, guys, I have to apologize. There was a problem with the stream in the first 5 minutes. It looks like it's all working now, and you can see people starting to already pile in and watch the show. But I apologize for the beginning. There was an issue with Facebook as well, clashing with YouTube. It's all sorted now. Bertram, where did you see this one? Quite easy one to predict, really.
Yeah, and Newcastle win. I predicted a 2-1 Newcastle win. I think Newcastle's a good forward line, actually. Think about St. Maximum, Wilson, if you think about Almiron. They have good players up front. They don't have the best midfield in terms of getting the ball to them. But I think we sometimes underplay the importance of a very good centre forward. We talk about City and his City struggling. Aguero is huge, one of the best forward ever in the Premier League. When you're missing that cog, we saw with Mane last week, for Liverpool, even though they have a very good team all around. I can't help it, Tony. I have to go back to Liverpool every single time.
Wait. We're coming to that.
I can't wait. No, but you see with Mane last week, was a complete player, which is what do you bring to the table and how do you have the other team change their strategy just because of one player? And right now against City, you don't have to worry that much because, the rest of the players are not great goal scorers. So I expected Newcastle to win. I think Wilson's been a good addition for them. And I expect them to be at least mid-table around the 10th, 11th spot coming season. I think they do have a balanced team, and they should do well throughout the season. But Burnley's going to struggle because if you don't add players in this environment, it's going to be tough. But you didn't have a great team in the first place. You're as was referred to earlier, a very defensive team. Most teams have improved, and you haven't improved. You're going to stagnate, and it's going to be challenging.
So Andrew's saying Sean Dyche replaces Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Man United. How's that for a Christmas present? I think everybody knows it's going to be Pooch. I think that is just an accident waiting to happen. Tony's saying, evening, gents. Sorry, I can't be with you this evening. That's okay, bro. We're either going to, I don't know what we're going to do next week because there's no football. We're either going to do a preview and transfer run-up to all the events that happens, or we're just not going to do anything at all. I think the guys want to come on and talk about the transfer, so we're probably going to do that next week, Tony. So yeah, there's that. Tony, what did you think of this one? Easy one to call?
Gosh, Newcastle. I might have thought in Newcastle would edge it, but for me, Newcastle are what I call a 500 team. You know, they're going to win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. That's what I feel with Newcastle. Unless they get some consistency. Now they've got Callum Wilson. Hopefully, you know, they can win a few more games, Newcastle. But yeah, you never know what you're going to get from them. And from week one, I said about Burnley, I tell you, it's going to be Sean Dyche's last year. Well, you know, even maybe by Christmas, he might duck out. But last season, the season before, they started off badly, and then they improved as the season went on. So they might do that. But yeah, Burnley, they've got, was it Torzkowski, the centre half? I think he's disgruntled, because I think he would have moved if he had a chance to move, because there's rumours about him leaving. Was he going to West Ham? Was it West Ham he was going to go to?
He didn't want to come to London, apparently.
Didn't he? No. Maybe he didn't want to go to West Ham. Maybe he would have gone there.
I bet he's having second thoughts now, though.
Yeah, I bet yeah. So I think with Burnley, Dyche, I think I'll be surprised if he's there by Christmas. If they lose a couple of games, I think he might say that's it to me.
Yeah, he's on the fodder. He's on the hot seat at the moment. Rose, with Wilson and St. Maximin, they've got a team that could actually threaten other teams now. What did you think of this result?
Yeah, as has been said, I think they were really smart going to Bournemouth and getting, you know, Fraser on a free, I think it was, and Callum Wilson for 20 million. Yeah, so I'm actually from Coventry, so Callum Wilson started there, and he's always just like got goals, so like 7 years ago or something. So Callum Wilson, I rate him a lot. But yeah, Burnley, I think it's so unfair for Sean Dyche. Like, he's done so well to bring them up and then keep them in the Premier League for as long as he has, and to not be backed by the board. I don't think he'll be there for much longer. And I predicted a Newcastle win as well.
Excellent. So we're going to move straight to the team that's on top of the league, and we're going to kick this one off with Rose as well.
What team's that?
You can see, okay. I went for 3-2 Everton, and it was an Everton 4-2 win. Rose, did you get that result right? Did you see that one there? And let's remember, guys, Brighton beat Arsenal twice last season. Just wanted to throw that in. I mean, I went for 4-1 actually. So we conceded one more than I was expecting. But yeah, it's a good time to be an Everton fan right now. You know, we're scoring goals, we're scoring 5s, 4s. I just think for me, it's just James, like, complete revelation in midfield. Calvert-Lewin as well, like, just that they've all just stepped up. I couldn't really even probably have to name all of them. It's a great time. I was expecting a win at home to Brighton, but Jordan Pickford still is question marks for me. He made the mistake. He makes too many mistakes. So for me, I think, and then I'll obviously think that we need another goalkeeper. I would have liked to maybe see Romero on loan, or just somebody to push him, which we got Olsen, the Denmark goalkeeper. I don't really know much about him. You got him on loan, didn't you?
Yeah, so hopefully a little bit more competition to, if he makes a mistake, then maybe put Olsen in for a game. Honestly, thrilled, top of the league, scoring goals. They're doing well.
And I've got a tidbit for you. So Everton have won each of their opening 4 games to a top flight season, like this year, for the first time since 1969. That was a year after I was born, and they actually they went on to win the title then, didn't they?
Wow.
Who knows? It's going to be a crazy season.
When was the last time they won 5 in a row? Their first 5.
I think it was 37, maybe 37. I think it was. Yeah, it was a long time. It was like 30 years before that.
It will stay like that as well. Anyway.
The thing is, this is God, I'm showing my age now. This is Carlo Ancelotti's dream, was to bring them into the big time. And for those of you who've forgotten, it's Red Holdings Uzunov, who used to be shareholders at Arsenal. That's where he is, and there's a lot of money, effort, and they're under pressure, just like most other teams who spend money are, and they come in for the Premier League. If you didn't think these guys were ready, and I was concerned about them last season, Ian, where did you see this one going?
I saw it as an Everton win. I thought actually that Brighton would peg them back a bit. I figured it was only going to be a 2-1 result. So fair play to Everton that their offensive firepower is still going. But like Rose said, I think they're in trouble while they got T-Rex in goal. It's always going to be a bit an issue. And it'd be interesting to see if Olsen does get any time, because obviously Pickford's potentially lost his England slot, and I think it's only a matter of time before, if he carries on the way he's going, he'll lose his slot at Everton as well. He's made too many mistakes, especially for a team that potentially could go for the title this year. Do we reckon? I know we're only 4 games in. I know there's another 34 to go, and it's a long, long way. Do we see another Leicester City season out of Everton? Is this a year? Is this another year? We said Leicester was going to be a one-off. We thought that was never going to happen again. We thought that was just the weirdest season ever. But after these first 4 games, do we think Everton have got a chance to go all the way?
I think injuries. I think injuries. For me, the key players actually are Allen, Decore, and James. The 3 that we've signed. If they can stay fit, I wouldn't potentially be looking at the league. I'd definitely be thinking top 4, like realistically speaking. But yeah, any of those 3 go out, and then we're back with the crabs that pass it sideways and backwards from last season. And so I just think if them 3 stay fit, Allen for me he celebrates tackling. I've seen a video of him. He tackles someone and he literally celebrates it like it's a goal. So for me, for him, Allen and James, if they can stay fit, and then Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, I'd definitely be looking at top 4. Who knows about the title? It's clearly already a crazy season, so we'll see.
So, guys, to answer Ian's question, hands up if you think that Everton have it within them to go all the way. That's 3 of us. Okay.
I agree with Rose when it comes down to injuries, but you only see what happened with Liverpool last year, where they stayed relatively injury-free. They could roll out, whereas as I think we talked about it last week, Pep gets a bit too clever sometimes with always rotating and always changing his team, and they lack consistency. Jurgen Klopp did exactly the opposite last year. Liverpool remained relatively healthy from start to finish, with 1 or 2 exceptions, but remained relatively healthy. He rolled out that same 11 pretty much every week, and look what happened. They steamrolled the league by multitude of points. I would love to see another Leicester City style season. I don't care who it is. Maybe it's Everton. Maybe it's someone else coming up on the rails. But
West Ham.
I just. Hey! I'm reveling. It's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. I'm enjoying it, but let's not go too far. But wouldn't it be great for football and the Premier League in general if we can get away from this top 4, top 6, and everyone's got a shot? And I think so many, like Rose was saying, so many teams have strengthened this year and stand a chance. You've got to be able to score goals. Defense at the moment everyone seems to have forgotten how to defend, apart from West Ham. But
hey, Aston Villa.
And Villa. West Ham. You go, all right, apart from the Claret and Blues. But the chance is there. The big boys are dropping points, and that's always been the case over the last few years, that the big boys, they may only lose 2 or 3 games a season, but they're already dropping points. We're only 4 games in. They've already lost games, and this is where Leicester City grasped their opportunity 3 or 4 seasons ago. I don't see why someone else can't step in, and why not Everton?
So, Bertram, we've got Cool K saying Everton can go all the way. This is actually Kez. Kez is on his missus' iPad. So what's going on, Kez? Kez is saying Everton are going to be a problem and Spurs are going to be a problem if they get Bale firing. I'm hearing Bale might not be ready till Christmas. And then remember, he's got to go home next summer. So I don't know how long that's going to last for them. 18 is saying Everton were dangerous last season. That's exactly what I said. Style is saying, I thought Everton could have finished high last season. I guess it was 1 year late, and it's always that build-up. What's going on, Alex? Guys, if you're not subscribed to Alex's channel, please subscribe to his channel. Alex is climbing up to that 10K. If he hasn't got there already, I didn't check over the last few days. Alex is saying revitalized James has already benefited from Ancelotti. And Kez is saying Everton won't win the title. They have started well, but experience to win this league is key. Bertram, Talk to me about these boys in blue.
So I picked them to win 3-1. I do follow Everton a lot because I said before I was a Theo fan. Now he's at Southampton. So I used to follow Everton a lot. I'll say a couple of things. One is they won't win the league for a couple of reasons. Unlike Liverpool, that had Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain in their midfield, they had Origi up front. They had people like Matip to cover for Gomez. You don't have the same coverage for Everton. You can't name a number of their substitutes who's going to come in. And look, they have a very good team. They play 4 in midfield versus 3. Ahmed's get to roam throughout the midfield, but the defense is weak. And people don't seem to realize that the defense is not the greatest. Yes, Allen didn't play last week, nor did Gomez. Protect the back 4, but I don't think their defense is strong enough. I don't think they have a center forward to replace Calvert-Lewin. Richarlison got injured last week. The question is going to be healthy going forward. I don't think they have strength in numbers, and their goalkeeper is a walking calamity. He's just an accident waiting to happen continuously. He makes the most profound errors ever in a goalkeeper. We're not talking about errors that are difficult. We're talking about basic, simple goalkeeping mistakes. So I think they're going to be challenged to win the league. And as I said before, the league is extremely competitive. They started out well. They've had a favorable schedule. Let's see what happened in the restart when they play Liverpool. Liverpool has a strong team with people like Mane back, and their entire team is back. Let's see how well they do. I will say one thing, though, which is what people don't seem to realize is that the strategy employed by Liverpool and City, which is to play in your half, which is they play in your half basically, so they close the field down, they shorten the field. What teams are doing now is saying, you know what, let me have a good center forward who can hold the ball up. Let me play the ball on the wing, and if I can get the ball out and we start going forward, they're exposed at the back. You saw that with Leicester City against Man City. When Mendy made one turn, the game was over. He played the ball through the Vardy. After that, they crumbled. You saw with Liverpool last week where Villa was able to get the ball out to Watkins, who held the ball up extremely well, which I thought one of his most impressive attributes, even though he scored 3. And they brought the other players into play, and they were wide open behind. No, Gomez was a calamity, was atrocious, frankly. But it shows you when you can hold the ball. If you just hold the ball up a little bit to give your forwards a time to get behind the defense, there's a whole room, there's a whole spread behind them to get behind and get in on goal. So every system has vulnerability. The question is, do you have the players to exploit those vulnerabilities? And you see that the last 2 weeks, and you see more of it as the season goes along.
Yeah, I mean, people are talking about Everton getting Champions League with Ancelotti. I mean, look at Rose smiling there. She just can't push anything less than that. Look, Cool K saying James Rodriguez has so far been the best bit of transfer business of the decade. Come on, bro.
Of course. A free transfer.
For Everton. He meant for Everton.
If he carries on this rate, he'll be in the shortlist for Player of the Year. Bro, we've only had 4 matches, man. Hold it. Tony, what did you think of this? As a Liverpool fan, Tony, are you worried?
I guess this derby is, going to be the toughest one for us for a while. All derbies are tough, but over the last few seasons, I've always expected us to win. Everton, look, they've played Palace, West Brom, Brighton, and obviously they beat Spurs. So, it's good for confidence. They won their first 4 games, and it's good for confidence and everything else, and everything's going well. But let's see what happens next week when they play us, to see how far they've really come, and we'll see what they're like after a loss. And we'll see what they're made of. But you can't knock what they've done. And Calvert-Lewin is looking really good. I'll tell you something. If Gomez and Van Dijk aren't up to their best next week, it's gonna be a handful for us. We've got it's gonna be won and lost in the midfield. Our midfield guys need to step up and stop them playing. Rodriguez, and getting the ball wide and getting crosses in for Calvert-Lewin. We've got to stop that. But yeah, Everton, it's best I've seen them look for, I don't even know how long time.
Yeah, if you're my age, it's the best I've seen them since Neville Southall was in goal.
Yeah,
going back a long time there.
when Beardsley and then Cotty was playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this I think this is going to be the toughest one for us because they're going to be coming up buoyed up, and we're going to have to pull it out of the bag.
Yeah, Liverpool.
Tony, you didn't have Mane, Thiago, and Henderson. I think people sometimes don't realize these are exceptional players. These are not just your everyday run-of-the-mill players that you're missing. To me, Thiago is probably the best midfielder in the league next to De Bruyne. That's huge.
Yeah, we'll get to our game in a bit.
So, guys, as you can see, I told Ian that the Newcastle game, the Everton game, and the Chelsea game, I only missed by a single goal. So I went for 3-0, and it was 4-0. And really, this was just the Chelsea that you expect to see with all the money that they've spent. I still do think that this is a team that's just thrown a whole load of money at the transfer market and don't have a plan and don't have a great manager at the same time. And at some point, not having a plan, not knowing where to put the players and how to work philosophies and the lack of his managerial skills, which I keep bringing up every week, at some point they're going to get exposed. And it weren't this week because they completely dominated Crystal Palace after Palace beat Man United as well. So quite a shock result for me. Anyway, I did go for 3-0. Where did you see this, Ian?
I saw it as a Chelsea win, but I thought it was going to be a 2-1 because Chelsea have sort of flattered to deceive a little bit over the first 3 weeks. And to be honest, I don't think it was a 4-0 game, was it really? I mean, 2 penalties at the end. The big surprise for me was not giving Werner a go. Remind me, at Arsenal, am I right in saying Lacazette or Aubameyang, one or t'other, was having trouble getting off a goal-scoring Schneid last season or the season before? I think Aubameyang handed the ball to Lacazette or something to let him score, to get him going. And you think, they brought Werner in, they were 3-0 up, they had the second penalty of the game. Abraham's throwing a spat about not being allowed to take the penalty. Why not give it to Werner or someone like that to get him going? It just seems there's a lack of confidence. Even though they won 4-0, it wasn't a confident win or anything like that. And I think it becomes apparent how much they're missing Captain America.
No, Captain America.
Oh, blimey. I'm having a brain fart. What's his name? He's been out injured.
Pulisic.
I think it's apparent how much they're missing him and how much... Because they looked really good post-lockdown last year when Pulisic was playing. And I think he's the link-up guy that they need to bring all these new elements in together to get them playing as a team. They're too disparate. They're playing in different positions. They're playing out of position, which I think we said last week was largely leans to potentially Lampard's lack of experience as a manager. It would be very interesting to see when Pulisic gets back, potentially next weekend, whether that's actually going to be the final thing that lifts them. I mean, 4-0 result, you look at it on the surface and you go, wow, Chelsea are back. But they really flattered to deceive. And Palace, on the other hand, were poor compared to what they did to Man United. And I think we were talking about Burnley just now in terms of a team that's struggling to score goals. And again, this season, I think it's going to come down. The teams at the bottom are going to be those guys that struggle to score. And Palace have always, well, I say have always, but the last couple of seasons they have struggled to score. Looks as though they're going to be in the same boat again. And I think you could see them slipping down that table and they're going to be in that dogfight if they don't pull their finger out fairly quickly.
Ian, Andrew makes 2 good points here. He says no club has really had a decent rest followed by a proper pre-season. Me and Tony know about that because we played in the Community Shield. And he also says Chelsea will struggle against teams that are compact and defensive. I think Cool K even says Chelsea are still not as fluid, but that's natural. These guys hardly know each other.
But then isn't that true of Everton? And they've won 4 out of 4 and they're top of the league. So it's like, that doesn't necessarily wash.
I can't answer that. Only Rose can answer that question.
I mean, you look at the 2 teams that both brought in a fundamental new core of players. You would have to say that would be Chelsea and that would be Everton. Now, if Everton was struggling the same way as Chelsea, you could go, legitimately the new guys, of course it's going to take weeks for them to blend in. Everton with an experienced manager, those guys have all come in and pretty much, bar none, have hit the ground running. Chelsea, pretty much by none, have all flattered to deceive. There's got to be some common denominator there somewhere.
Yeah, where did you see this one, Bertrand?
I'll say that they're not exactly the same in terms of Everton brought in a very experienced midfield with players who have been there, done that. Chelsea's all over the place, right? Ziyech hasn't played. Pulisic is injured. They have Tino Werner in. They have Havertz in, and he's trying to get acclimated to the league. While people like all the midfielders are very seasoned players for Everton. I thought Chelsea would win 2-1, and Palace continues to struggle to score goals. Palace's problem is they have zero creativity in their midfield. So they have decent wingers. The centre forward play is always challenged because Benteke has been non-existent since he left Liverpool.
Yeah,
he's been really bad. Not sure what happened to him from Villa to Liverpool, and now he's just in the retirement heap, frankly. So I expected Palace to struggle to score goals. I think defensively, they're very compact. They play only one way. They get the ball up to Zaha, Ayew. But if they don't create something on their own, then nothing really happens. So it's going to be challenging for them. But Chelsea, I think, look, sometimes the quality and the quantity of players that you have can overcome. If you think Lampard is not up to the job, poor coaching, sometimes the players will rattle themselves and they have enough quality. Pulisic is sometimes unplayable, frankly. And Ziyech, people maybe underestimating, is a very, very good player. His problem is going to be what 11 does he put on the field? Because he has a lot of quality players, and players get disgruntled when they're on the bench, and they were starters in their previous teams when they were good teams. So it'll be interesting to see a very young manager manage a very big squad with a lot of quality players. That's going to be his biggest challenge, frankly.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in the chat, especially talking about me saying that Lampard isn't the answer and he's their weakness, and Andrew agrees with that. Andrew's saying one difference is the manager. Tony, how far can this team go? Look, let's remember that your team walked the Premiership last season. They were 18 points ahead of Man City. They were 40 points ahead of Arsenal. So all this stuff that Chelsea, it's not. They're talking about winning the league and all this stuff. They're nowhere near it.
No, you got to remember a lot of the players that Frank's brought in, they're quite young. You know, there's quite a few of them, and they're quite young, and it's going to take them time to gel. I think you're going to see Chelsea win a few of these games 4-0 because they've got the power, they've got the firepower to do it. But then you're going to see them struggle in certain games. I think you just got to give him time to pick the right 11. You know, I think the issue with that he's got, and some of his experience, he's trying to get all of them in one team, and they're not looking like a team. They're still looking like a bit like individuals. And he has to find a way of just getting 11 players out there who are going to do the job, and some of them are going to have to sit on the bench. It's just the way it is.
Agreed.
And Frank has just got to sort that out and say, right, he's got to get strong and say, right, you three are sitting down. I need to build a team that's going to win. In terms of Crystal Palace, again, yeah, if Sarah isn't doing anything, and maybe Ayew, they're not going to score any goals. They're going to be struggling again. I think even last season they started off pretty good. They were doing all right at the first half of the season, and they fell away. I think every time they get to about 35 points, then they're just down tools and think about holidays and that sort of stuff. But this season, I think they're going to struggle, Palace. And you're saying about Benteke, ever since he left Aston Villa, I don't know what's happened to him.
He could have been a Liverpool great. He could have been a Liverpool great, but
I don't know. He could have been a Heskey for Liverpool. You know what I mean? The same sort of way, holding up the ball and turning. But he's fallen off. And Crystal Palace, again, they're going to be bottom half battling.
Me and for those who don't know, me and Tony used to be in business together for a very long time, working at a big major corporation, and we used to always talk about skill and will. Innit, Tony? You've either got the skill to do it or the will to do it. And this guy's got the skill, but he doesn't have the will. There's no desire in his game at all, and I think that's what it's really. He hasn't found a manager that can, that can get the best out of him. Rose. The problem with Palace, Rose, is, we look at more pay for Brighton, Inns for Southampton. We look at some of these teams, Jimenez for Wolves, that you've got a guy who can get you 15 goals or whatever. We just talked about Newcastle's team. But Palace don't have that, do they?
No, I think, well, they signed Eze, isn't it, from QPR. So I think maybe they were just trying to, he looks like a decent player, to be honest, with a lot of potential, but he's not there yet. And like you say, there's no focal point for the attack. So pretty much if you mark Zaha and Ayew out the game, then you stop Palace creating anything. And as you say, Benteke is not the most energetic of strikers. So yeah, I was expecting the game to be closer, though, based on the United result with Palace. Yeah, I think the thing is with Chelsea is, as you say, they brought in a lot of new faces. It will take them time to gel. But I think also with the money that Chelsea have spent, Lampard would be under quite a lot of pressure now. I mean, you've seen that Abramovich isn't scared to sack anyone. And I'll be interested to see like how long he's given. I know what he's done as a player, but you know, Di Matteo did stuff as a player, won the Champions League, and then got sacked. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested to see. I do like Chelsea's attacking options, though. I think once they get going, they'll be really a good team to watch, just like they were at the weekend.
Yeah, and 18 says Rose knows her stuff. Cool K saying, I like this girl. What's her channel name? She did shout it out, but what's the name of your channel, Rose?
It's just Everton Rose. If you search it, it'll come up on YouTube.
Excellent. So, guys, if you want to support her, go and subscribe to her channel.
Thank
you. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. We move on to Southampton 2, West Brom 0. And look, I've got that one bang on. I was one goal out with the other ones, but I got this one bang on. For me, it was pretty run of the mill. I don't like what I've seen from West Ham at the start of the season. I allowed Ian to scratch off that result with West Ham. He ignored it. I ignored it. And this is business as usual right now. I think West Ham West Brom are going down, and Southampton pretty much walked it. And Danny Ings, I don't think he scored in this game. Ian, where did you see this?
Well, as a Danny Ings and as a Danny Ings owner in FPL, the highlights. Oh, I tell you what, point blank saves, hits the woodwork. I mean, he could have got a brace if not a hat trick, to be honest. So he's staying for next week. Yeah, it was pretty much as expected. I think Southampton aren't necessarily prolific going forward.
They will be with Walcott. They will be
but they've got enough firepower with guys who know how to hit the net. I mean, Adams hasn't got going yet this season, but he proved at the end of last year that he's got what it takes. And of course, Danny Ings has just been a revelation. Now he's got over that injury-prone tag. He's probably one of, if not the best striker in the country at the moment in terms of the amount of attempts he needs. I mean, he doesn't need many attempts to get on that score sheet. And Southampton are good. I mean, they obviously, like, it was odd because like last year they got that hammering, didn't they, from Leicester City, and then immediately Hasenhüttl turned them round and they became a very, very solid team. They got embarrassed by Spurs a couple of weeks ago, playing that high line. It's like you were saying earlier on about Man City and Liverpool playing this high line and getting caught out this year. And I wonder if that's going to be a trend, because that's what Southampton were trying to do to Spurs, and they got caught out time and time and time again. The last couple of weeks, they seem to have reverted back to let's just play it simple. We're a better team than the guys we're playing. Let's get the win and move on from there. And they just did a job on West Brom. And like you say, I think West Brom are goners. I think Fulham are goners. And it's just going to be very interesting to see which one of the Burnleys, the Palaces, the Sheffield Uniteds potentially go with them.
So I want to then finish that off by saying their next two games, away to Chelsea and home to Everton. Talk about realism. Bertram, where did you see this one? Obviously I got it spot on, but Southampton have only lost 2 of their last 11.
Well, I expected West Brom to score. I mean, West Brom lead goals in the Championship. Now they were the big boys. Then Fulham came to visit, realized it's too hot. They're going to go back down. And they spent a ton of money. They realized that it's not their cup of tea. But I'm not surprised about West Brom. I mean, you followed the Championship last year. They gave a lot of goals. And at this level, if you can't protect your goal, you're going to be challenged. And it's harder to score in the Premier League. So they've had a challenging time. And Southampton is hot and cold. I know someone mentioned about Southampton leaking 7 to or whatever it was to last year to Leicester, but they played with, I think they had about 9 men on the field. At some point, they probably just gave up. It wasn't if there was 11 against 11 when they leaked that many goals. And Southampton's been doing, they're hot and cold, right? And we have talked about this previously, Apollo, which is, I think Danny Ings is a very, very good striker. He's a complete striker. Unlike Aubameyang, who I think just scores goals, Danny Ings does the entirety of it, what you require of a striker. So if they get a few more pieces, if Theo starts scoring again, which he didn't do at Everton, if the team start playing collectively, they can do well. They'll be a mid-table team, but they'll give teams a few challenges. As was mentioned before, I am shocked sometimes with some of these managers, whether it was Southampton, whether it was Man U against Spurs, whether it was Liverpool last week and or Man City. There is no change of tactics within the game to compensate for, you know what, when you have found out, you amend your tactics to manage the game better. I mean, they play the same way throughout the game. They give up goals, and the managers just sit there as if they're in Wonderland. Why don't you adjust your tactics during the game when you realize that what you're employing doesn't work? It's beyond me.
So, for me, you guys know I'm a massive Theo Walcott fan, and you're talking about a 20-goal. There's very few 20-goal per season players in the Premier League, and this is one of the highest-scoring wingers actually in the history of the league. He's in the top 10 Arsenal all-time goal scorers with 108 goals, 114 goals before he went to Everton. And I was looking for Everton to implement a system that Wenger didn't, because Wenger switched to that hybrid formation, the 4-2-3-1, and that meant he needed a wing-back. So that's why Oxlade-Chamberlain came in. So he wasn't playing with a conventional winger or false nine, because let's face it, Walcott's a striker. He never has really been an out-and-out winger because he doesn't have the ball skills for it. When he played in the striker role for Arsenal, Bertrand, tell them what he got, how many goals he got in 11 games.
Yeah, it's about 14 of 20. No, he had 14 of 28, actually. If you just think about it's his entire history as a centre forward. Look, I was always been a Theo fan. I think Theo lacks skill. He's never been really coached well or played what you expect from a forward because he was too young he was too effective at a too young early age. And what happens is you just continue what you used to do versus developing your game. So I'm a big Theo fan. I think, we used to have this running debate about Theo and his goal scoring. And at one point, he was better than Giggs, frankly. His goal to game average was better than Ryan Giggs, who's a legend. But he has been atrocious at Everton, frankly. He hasn't done well there, hasn't produced at all. And so maybe a new team will maybe bring out some of that, some of those old glories and maybe him doing well. But he hasn't done well at Everton at all. Yeah,
I hope so. I'm hoping that Danny Ings can play that Harry Kane role to just sit back, a kind of a hybrid number 10 role, and allow Theo to play the role of Song and act as that sort of out-and-out false nine, that striker winger hybrid, which he did at Arsenal, where he had his best years. In Theo's last year at Arsenal, he had 19 goals in 27 games. I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal. If you look at the video I've released on YouTube on Wednesday, I actually showed you his scoring rate when he first started in the league, and it was something like 0.15 goals per game, and it went up to 4.5 goals a game. So he was nearly netting 1 goal every 2 games. That's where he was before he literally left. But it's a system, and Ancelotti didn't play to that system. It doesn't work. If you're playing him wide and you need him to defend, and these are the things I talk about with Pepe at Arsenal, it doesn't matter what he does on the offensive end. You're asking somebody out wide to defend and backtrack, and Theo's not going to do that for you. So I hope Southampton are going to play him as a striker. He will be a phenomenal player up there with Danny Ings in the supporting role. Tony, did you get this one right?
Yeah, I thought Southampton might scrape it. Because, again, Southampton are going to be a bit like Newcastle. They're going to hit and miss. You never know what you're going to get from them. So there'll be another 500 team, in my opinion. West Brom, if you're leaking more than you're scoring, there's only one thing that's going to happen to you, and you're going to get relegated. So I can't see West Brom, surviving unless something a miracle happens. I can't see it happening. Theo Walcott going to Southampton, we'll have to see what Theo Walcott's got, because I must admit I forgot about him. I forgot about Theo Walcott. Last season I didn't even I don't even know if he played. I don't even know. I forgot about Theo Walcott.
Yeah, I watched
I
it.
forgot about the guy.
When me and Bertrand was watching a lot of Everton games, when he first moved to Everton, they were playing him quite a bit, and he actually had 4 man of the match games, and I know because I pasted them all over the Arsenal forums. But again, it's the manager. The manager didn't last long. New manager comes in. It's a different system, and the same reason why he moved out away from Arsenal because of remember, there's a difference between a wing back, a winger, and a right back, if that makes sense. There's 3 different positions, all within fundamentally the same link and same space on the field. And Theo is a striker, so if you're asking him to be a wing back, it's not going to happen. Yeah,
but this is last chance. He can't have any excuses now. Regardless of what system the manager wants to play. He's going to have to fit in now. This is his last chance saloon. It's a pity because he had a lot of potential, and it's kind of faded away. I don't know if he's lost confidence. So Hasselhoff will have to build up his confidence, and we can see what we're going to get. I don't know I'm really not sure what sort of Theo Walcott we're going to see. Don't expect the one that was at Arsenal. I don't think we're going to see that guy.
That one, you're never going to see that again because Theo was. I mean, when you look at Robin van Persie scoring 37 goals that season, and Theo had 11. He assisted 11 of those 37 goals. I mean, the team was it was a firecracking team, and he just mixed well with it because it was fast-paced running. Fabregas, Rosicky, all them guys just darting around, Sanchez, Ozil. It was a handful. Between the 4 of them guys, what is it? Sanchez had 31 goals that season, Walcott 19, Giroud had 16 goals, Ozil had 12 goals. It was our defense though that let us down. Our defense was leaking goals in, but their offense was one of the best in the Premiership. Unfortunately, you got to surround him with talent. I'm not sure. Everton kind of did, but again, it's a system thing. And if he goes to Southampton and they say to him, "We're not going to play 2 up front, or we're not going to play in the supporting role," then he's going to fail because he's a striker. He's not a wing back. Rose, where did you see this one?
I saw a Southampton win as well. I'm not really that impressed by West Brom. They did well to sign Diang though, from West Ham. I quite like him. He looked good against us when we played them. I think, as people have said, as you guys have said, I think top 10 finish, same as Newcastle. I like the business they've done though in terms of Southampton. They signed Kyle Walker-Peters, didn't they, with the Højbjerg deal the other way. I like him. He's really good right back. Theo's an interesting one. He wasn't great at Everton. He wasn't bad either. I just think, he joined us at a time where we were just chopping and changing managers, like you said, and we didn't really have enough quality around him. That's simple as that, really. And it will be interesting to see how Southampton do in the next couple of games, just to see if they're still middling or if they could actually do better. But West Brom for me, same as you guys. They're going down. They haven't invested enough, and they're a bit of a yo-yo club, so they'll probably go back down.
Excellent. Now it's that time of the week, everybody. Let's celebrate West Ham getting 3 points. Ian, look, forget my prediction. I went for 2-2. What did you go for, Ian?
Excuse me, Dean, Apollo. Can I just do this? You were right. All right, it's not often I admit to you being right, but you said it from week 1. You went, watch West Ham, they're going to surprise people. I tell you what, I think myself and a lot of other people included saw the Wolves game last week and said Wolves played poorly and West Ham were in the right place at the right time. Now I think we have to have second thoughts. I mean, Leicester were coming off that amazing win against Manchester City. All right, largely penalty led, but it was still a win over Manchester City, and we dominated them. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. We absolutely dominated them, and I'm as gobsmacked as anybody. I didn't see this coming. I mean, an aggregate of 7-0 over 2 games against Wolves and Leicester. I mean,
brilliant. That's
What's up
why.
with that?
What was the first
Isn't
thing?
that-
By the way, me and Ian was texting each other like crazy while the game was going on, and at about 10 minutes left, Ian said to me, "No, stop, Apollo, don't say nothing." And then
It was 2-0. It was 2-0, and it was 2-0 with 15 minutes to go, and you're saying, "Oh, celebrate!" And I'm going, "I have been a West Ham fan for far too long. Can you just be quiet?" I think when our third one went in, I think I then allowed myself to celebrate, but. I've been a West Ham fan too long, you know.
Oh my God!
Had too many false dawns, but I mean, this is incredible. I think it's a great advert for working from home. I think David Moyes should stay there. I think Alan Irvine is doing a wonderful job. Whatever he's telling the team in the dressing room at half time and before the game or what have you. He's doing a better job than David Moyes is. And it's fine. I'm quite happy with David Moyes on the phone and having a chat with Stuart Pearce or what have you. That's fine. But stay away from the stadium if this carries on, because it's fantastic. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think I said to you on the pre-season show, I said, we'll be bottom by Christmas, put money on it. If we've even got a point, it'll be a miracle, especially after that Newcastle game. But now... we've still got an awful... we've had the worst run in the league. We've still got Spurs, Liverpool and Man City, our next 3 games. Who's to say?
I'll tell you what, Ian.
Nothing would surprise me. If we come out with 0 points, I won't be surprised. If we suddenly come out with 4 points from these 3 games, now I equally wouldn't be surprised. I hope this carries on. I think... we will suffer with our lack of activity in the transfer market unless we manage to pick up a couple of doozies from the Championship. But who's to say? Because Sullivan has extremely short arms and very deep pockets. I'm happy to ride this wave. For as long as it lasts, it's absolutely fantastic. I thought when the season started, our season would begin properly in game week 8 against Fulham. And anything we got before that is a bonus. And the points are one thing, but it's the performances.
It's the performances.
And
I have to talk about that. I have to talk about that. Antonio's the first player to score in 5 consecutive away games. Now we know how hard it is to play away.
I like your stats.
Oh, you know me from American football, bro. I'm all over it. But the person I talked
with Antonio, and it's interesting now, even the commentators watching Match of the Day at the weekend, even the commentators are now saying it. No defender wants to play against Mikel Antonio. And
that's what Bertrand said.
Like we were talking about Walcott just now, I think Antonio is one of those players that thrives on confidence. He's a confidence player. You watch his post-game interviews, the guy is a comedian, he's smiling, he's loving life. He's suddenly found his position. The team's embraced him. I think it's wrong to say the nation is embracing him, but I think, if you ask people, even neutrals, it's like, who's potentially one of your favourite players at the moment who isn't from your own team? You've got to love Mikel Antonio. But on the pitch, the man is an absolute, bull. He just scares the living daylights out of defences. And now with, I think I mentioned Bowen last week, who since coming in from Hull, he took half a dozen games to really find his feet. He's looking like a revelation. But this week, Pablo Fornals.
I was just about to mention him. Yeah, I was about, because
a little while to settle in. But
1
now
goal, 1 assist.
Those 3 are at the top. And Anderson's gone off to Porto now on loan. Those 3 now are pretty much locked in as our starting top 3. And again, like we were saying about Everton, injuries permitting, they can stay together and carry on playing with this confidence. Sky's the limit. Antonio's not the youngest. He's 28, 29 now. But Bowen and Fornals, both youngsters. We could do anything. I'm not expecting points really over the next 3 weeks, but if we can get a result, especially against Spurs, if we can take a point off Liverpool, or if we can take a point off Manchester City, I'm going to be in 7th heaven.
So you've got one comment on here, Ian. It says 31% possession for West Ham, and they won 3-0. Looks like they did a Leicester on Leicester City. Well done, Hammers.
Yeah, totally. Leicester didn't turn up, and again, if this was a one-off game, you could easily say Leicester were poor. West Ham were in the right place at the right time. But now it's happened 2 weeks on the bounce.
2 weeks on the bounce.
I think
Two quick
credit to the
sheets.
Hammers.
Yeah, excellent. What's this? Andrew saying, I like that phase, Ian. Tell him they are on the end of his legs. Yeah, I love it. Bertram, did you? I can't even. I don't even know where to start with this, Bertram. Look, I didn't think they were going to lose. Give me credit. I've been bigging West Ham up for a while, and I thought they were going to go away from home and get a point. And I was completely baffled when I saw the result. Look at Tony's face.
Given the last 2 West Ham games, I feel better about my team because when we play them, I thought they should have won easily in the second half. In fact, I gave Antonio man of the match because he used his knee to try to score versus his head, and they would have probably won that game. He better score because we scored in the latter part of the game. So I gave. Yeah. After that game, I said to myself, if they beat Wolves and now they beat Leicester, I said, you know what, my team is maybe better than I thought they were because West Ham have been playing really well. It's encouraging to see a team like West Ham doing well and can become a rival for the teams in London, frankly. I think, look, what people don't realize is this, which is David Moyes being at home is a good thing for West Ham. So when you're at the field, and I'm not saying it because I think the manager there is doing better than what they were doing. When you're watching from TV, you're getting so many different perspectives about how your team is doing. People don't seem to realize this, right? So the commentators are telling you what you're doing, not doing well. You may be getting fans. You're probably getting calls about people telling you not doing well. You're bringing all that intellectual capital to bear with you. You don't have that same insight when you're at the field trying to manage a team on the field at ground level where you can't see the entire game. Now you're seeing the game from up top and you're getting all this input. It helps you to make better decisions, which is what NFL team does when they put their offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator up in the highest seat possible, so you can see the entire field, you can see what the defense is doing, what the offense is doing. That's what I think David Moyes is benefiting from. Let's see what happens when he goes back to take charge at field level. And frankly, David did well at Everton. Let's not knock him because he was poor at Man U and poor after that. He kept Everton in mid-table or even below top 7, top 8, year after year after year, with less budget than the big teams, top 4 teams, Man U, us at that point in time. So, look, I mean, I'm pleased for West Ham. I hope they continue to do well. Beat the teams around you until you play us, and then you can lose, and I'll be even much happier.
Yeah, Tony, man, West Ham. What's going on with West Ham, Tony?
I didn't see 3-0, I must admit, against Leicester. Didn't see 3-0. But West Ham played really well. You know, you got to give it to them. It wasn't that. That's okay. We can all say Leicester wasn't at their best, but West Ham really came out. And I spoke about Antonio the other day. I said to him, that guy is a catalyst. You know, if he gets injured, then I don't think West Ham won't be the same team. He's a big player for West Ham, and he was at the back end of last season as well. So West Ham are looking good. You know, they've had the board got a lot of people moan at the board and the Sullivans and Karen Brady and all that sort of stuff. You know, and they've come out. The players haven't listened to all that stuff. They've just gone out in the field and they've played. And you know, not having their own crowd, it might be a bonus. You know. You ain't seen banners going up and people protesting, and they've just gotten with their football. You know, let's see if when the crowds come back, if you're doing well, obviously there won't be too much of that. But it might be a godsend for West Ham that there's no fans for them at the moment, so they can just concentrate on the footy. Because I think if they started with some of their fans, if the fans were in the ground or playing at home and that sort of stuff, half the players wouldn't even want to go and play there.
Excellent. And Rose, did you see this coming, or did you see any inclination that West Ham was going to go there and get a result?
No, I certainly didn't see the 3-0 coming. I think it's been raised in terms of, you know, Leicester for me do well on the counter, on the break, Vardy off the shoulder. But that possession stat, you know, it just shows that when Leicester have a lot of the ball, actually they struggle a lot more. And yeah, I think for West Ham, it looks good as well right now. You know, that they've got, to be honest, they've got quality players all over the pitch, you know, internationals, you know, you've got Rice, players like that. And I just think, for West Ham, at the start of the season, I was a little bit worried for them. But like you guys say, if David Moyes does just, let Irvine do the team talks and do the tactics, I think they might be all right. But no, really, like David Moyes, that's what he's excellent at. Clearly the move to United was just too big, but a team like West Ham, I think he'll do a decent job there.
Excellent. So, guys, let's move on. As you can see, I went for 2-1 Wolves. I thought this was a walk in the park. I'm not even going to spend waste any time talking about it. Fulham are dead food at the moment. Ian?
I thought 3-0 Wolves, and Wolves for the second week on the trot were frankly very disappointing. And I think there's something, I don't know. Santo is a brilliant manager, but they've made one or two sales, one or two acquisitions have come in. Whether they just haven't quite settled yet, it's that same Chelsea Everton thing we were talking about earlier on. Something doesn't seem right with Wolves. They've been very off. They were obviously appalling against us last week, but to only beat what is quite frankly a dreadful Fulham team 1-0, that's not going to get it done when you're playing teams that are far stronger than that. They're going to be a very interesting one to watch. I'm sort of just taking a watching brief on Wolves. They might come good, but I don't know. There's something weird. I don't know what everyone else thinks. There's something strange going on at Wolves this season.
Well, I have been working hard on getting an Everton correspondence, which is what Rose is doing here. I'm trying to get someone from Leicester in, and I'm trying to get somebody from Wolves in. The Leicester guy was nearly going to make it tonight. Something turned up, and he couldn't make it. Funny enough, we don't have any.
They lost 3-0 to us.
Like 3-0, yeah. Like 3 goals.
Hey, listen, it is what it is, isn't it? Look, we got battered by Liverpool last week, and we had to turn up in it, Bertram. We had to face safe and take our licks, man. Bertram, again, pretty much run of the mill. When we do get a Wolves fan on here, though, they can definitely tell us what's going on with their team. Nice to see a Tottenham fan in there. We've got Harry. We've got Harry James Fernandez, his name is. Good to see you in there. Big up your Tottenham team, man. Big up your team, bro. Bertram, pretty much run of the mill, walk in the park.
Yeah, I mean, like others have said, I expect Wolves to win and say 3-0. Fulham is just a poor team. I'm a little bit surprised about Wolves' transfer business. It seems like it's just an agent making money because I don't see where players are moving out and you really significantly upgrade or in positions where you may need to enhance your team. So it's a little bit surprised. They moved Jota out. They brought in the young kid. They paid 30-something million for. He's going to play in that position. They moved one fullback out. They brought another one in. So I don't understand the transfer decisions. I thought they needed some younger legs in their midfield and maybe another person in their defense. So let's see what happens with them. I think their manager's a very good manager. But I just thought the agents were just making money by moving players out and moving players in. I don't see what the logic is in the transfer business. But look, I mean, they have a good team. I think they'll do fine, actually.
Tony, Wolves had the best record against the top four over the last 2 seasons. What's going on with Wolves now?
They're just ain't showing up. Wolves. Just a slow start for them. They started slow last season, and that's because they were in the Europa League. But yeah, they're just that spark. They're just missing that spark. I think if they got a big signing, a big player in, then that would give them that spark. But I think they've just lost their spark, and Santo, Espirito Santo.
Yeah.
He needs to inject that back into them. They've just lost their mojo, Wolves, and just need to find it again. Once they do, they'll be fine. But even Traore and all their top players, they're just not quite at it at the moment. Not sure what it is, but I think they'll come good. I don't think they won't be in the top 6. I think Wolves will be around about the 8th, 9th mark again this season. Don't think they'll be much higher than that.
And what about you, Rose? Any insight into where Wolves are at the moment?
Yeah, so I think, like you've said, Wolves are hot and cold. I think when you sell someone like Jota and Doherty as well, for me, I think Doherty got something like 8 or 9 assists last year for them. So that'll be a loss. He was great going forward, and they sold him for 15 million, I think, which is a really, really low price for somebody like him. and Jota, I think it's really difficult. I see Wolves and I kind of see a bit of Everton of about maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, where you have a very good core group of players, but then you do well, and then the bigger teams, come and poach, like Liverpool get Jota, Doherty goes off to Spurs, and then maybe those players that are there now are kind of thinking, where's my move? I know that Traore was linked with Barcelona or somewhere, wasn't he? So maybe there's a little bit of, players are unsettled, maybe think that they could get a better wage somewhere else, maybe, European football. And yeah, I think that would probably be the only other thing that I would say. But I still think they'll finish in the top 10, like you guys have said.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, guys, we move on to Arsenal, Sheffield United. I went for 2-0, and the bastards went and scored in the last few minutes of the game to rob me of my prediction. Look, my thoughts on this was Arsenal found it a very sort of tough game. They didn't play well in the first half, and Mikel Arteta came through in the second half and put Pepe on the left wing. I mean, wow. I mean, put him on the left, put him on the right, and sort of played him a little bit in the middle. He did score the goal from the right, though, but he came on and made the difference. And I'm not going to say anything really about Arsenal. It's more about Sheffield United. When a team hadn't scored a goal in 4 games, a single goal, your manager is looking for a reaction, and this was a game where they gave him a reaction. They didn't look like a team that has just been kicked around for the last few weeks. They definitely came to the Emirates to compete, but it was pretty run of the mill for us. Arsenal now 3 wins in 4, and that lost to Liverpool, and we got Man City up next. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm up for it for a gun, and now we got Thomas Partey. It's all good for me. I cannot wait, and I want to play Partey against City. These are the games that we bought him for. I don't want to see him on the bench. Ian, where did you see this result? Was it pretty static for you?
It was an interesting one for me. I mean, as a neutral observer in this one, like you were saying, you're playing a Sheffield United team that hadn't scored yet this season. I mean, and their goal came in the 90th minute or something. It was a cracking goal, but far too little, too late. It worries me slightly that Arsenal play down to their opposition.
Yeah.
Whereas other teams might take a game like this and treat it as an opportunity to actually put some goals in, improve your goal difference, everything like that. Arsenal just sort of seem to get by. That was my impression. I mean, I don't follow Arsenal as closely as you guys, but that's what it struck me. I mean, I think Sheffield United are going to struggle. The new lad Brewster from Liverpool needs to really come in and hit the ground running. But the only problem is that he's a young lad, and he's now got so much pressure on his shoulders. He's he's their record buy, and he's coming in theory as their goal scoring saviour. But like we said, with a lot of teams, it's one thing to have a striker, but you've got to have supply. And, they can stick this young lad up top, but if they don't improve the supply, he's going to be stranded a little bit. And I still see them struggling, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on that young man's shoulders. But I think if Arsenal are going to challenge for the Champions League slots, I mean, they're obviously perfectly good enough for a top 6 finish, top 6, top 7 finish. But if Arsenal now want to take that next step under Arteta, they've got to have that that sort of killer instinct that's been lacking from Arsenal for a few years now. They don't go for the jugular, they don't go for the kill, and they're a bit soft. Would that be the right? That's not a dig, but that's just as a neutral. The Arsenal sort of seem to they've lately, not in the old days, but lately they've seemed to be a bit soft, and that's what worries me slightly about Arsenal when it comes to those crunch games like last week against Liverpool. Liverpool sorted them out, and to win big in the Premier League, you've got to win those big games. And I think Arsenal, whilst they've got plenty of talent, they're just still not quite over the hump for me yet. But I think they've got a great manager. I think they're going to get there, but they need to show in these sorts of games what they're capable of a lot more than they actually do.
A stat for you: before Arteta came in, they let in 2.2 goals per game. With Mikel, 0.92. So he's got them in a place where they're defending really well. As you know, on the back end of last year, it should have beaten Leicester. We had the red card, beat Wolves, beat Man City. beat Liverpool. And actually, they've beaten Liverpool 3 out of the last 4 games. They beat Man City in the semis and Chelsea in the final. So this is what
in cup games, though. In cup games, though.
Yeah.
Some of those games weren't cup games, but yeah, you're right. But overall, it's the change and solidity of the team, the tightness in the midfield. It's the way he wants them to play. He's got his philosophy. We've seen him kick out Guendouzi and Ozil, a few other players. It's either his way or the highway. And I say this to the Arsenal fans out there, a lot of the regulars who are tuning in now. Arteta suffers no fools. He will not take no for and failure for an answer. He is in this to be a successful manager, one of the most successful managers, and they're backing him, and it's really good to see. Now he's got the player he wants in Thomas Partey, that Steele, that Vieira in the middle of the park. I cannot wait to see what this team, and it's going to take them a bit of time to get it all working, but I can't wait to see them to get at it. I really can't. I'm so up for the City game. Bertram, I did have something for
Go ahead.
I did have something for you, and I can't remember what it was. I completely forgot it. I'll maybe remember it and then ask it to Tony. Go ahead. What did you think of this result, mate?
So, I expect us to win. I expect them to score because we have David error-prone Luiz in our defense, and he may be great sometimes, but he always makes a mistake. That goal wasn't his fault, frankly. Look, I think we have a good team. We have too many players who are not complete players. They have deficiencies. Aubameyang is only a goal scorer. The rest of his game needs a lot of work. Like I said, he's very slow, even as a good hold-up player. Pepe doesn't play defense. He's trying to learn to play defense. Xhaka doesn't have athleticism, escape Xhaka. So every player that we have in our team is not a complete player. We just bought one. A complete midfielder, box-to-box, defensively solid. I saw him against Liverpool in the Champions League. He was dominating in midfield against a very good team. So with that complete player, we can reposition the entire team. We can move Aubameyang inside. We can play Pepe and William. We can play Ceballos forward. You can restructure your entire team because you bought one player. And frankly, Gabriel didn't play with Liverpool, which was a mistake because Gabriel is a stallion and should have played against a team which had the Mane and the Salahs of the world. So I do think that team gets repositioned, resituated to allow us to compete with the better teams. And I'm curious to see what we're going to look like going forward, because I think the team is now, when you have a balanced team defensively and offensively, you can play 4-3-3 versus 3 at the back, because before he was concerned about our defense, and he definitely want to play a much more compact middle and allow teams to go to the wing. Now he can play a regular 4-3-3, have more people in the middle of the park, and play the game he wants to play, which is, as he says, he wants to dominate teams. So we'll see what happens. But, we haven't played well all season. We beat a poor Fulham team. West Ham should have beaten us. And frankly, we should dispose of Sheffield, and we didn't. And Liverpool ran over us. So hopefully Partey will change all of that, because it's not been the best season, even though we have 3 wins so far.
Yeah. I think in terms of Arsenal, something that I think as a neutral, and I don't follow Arsenal like you guys will, but they've just been very frustrating. Even from my perspective, where I don't really mind what the result is for Arsenal, but for 1 week you might beat City, and then the next week lose to West Ham, for example. I remember, I don't know, in recent times West Ham beating you guys, and I think that's what it is. And as well, I don't know if it's mentality or I don't know. It's just, that's what I think with Arsenal, inconsistency. So 1 week, you'll beat Liverpool, and then the next week it will be, and I think maybe that's the difference this year, in that you're actually beating Sheffield United, whereas before you might have just lost and not, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So I think with Arteta, I think he's going to be a really good manager, and now with Partey, like you said, years, probably since Vieira, you guys have just not had anybody in the central midfield who can dictate the game, and just, so I'm excited to see him play as well from a neutral point of view.
Yeah, but Tony, before I come to you, I just want to say, as I've been following Arsenal for a very long time, and I've had my channel and a season ticket holder at the Emirates when it opened up. It's all of the above. The Arsenal team has lacked discipline under Wenger. Wenger was a manager who trusted in his players too much, and when when he brought leaders in, they were the invincibles. They were allowed to go and express themselves, and he didn't really keep that up. He brought in a lot of young players. You can't really find leaders in young players, and he failed to infuse the discipline in those players, and he kind of lacked that throughout his tenure and latter days. Emery, again, lack of discipline. That's why we brought him in, and the discipline has been brought in by Arteta. As I said, he doesn't suffer fools. They needed to have a team with that type of discipline, that leadership. And the other day, I had a question from the guys in the panel, and it was like, do you think Aubameyang should be the captain? And I said to them, yes, because we've got leaders on the field now. There's leaders at various different spots. And it's not just about Aubameyang being the captain. It's about what the other players are doing. And it kind of reminds me of what happened when Vieira was ahead. There was leaders everywhere all over the team. I like the direction they're going in, but it's just a team that's lacked discipline, direction, philosophies. Everything's just fallen by the wayside, and that seems to be coming back now. So, Tony.
Yeah. So this result was kind of like a typical Arsenal display. You know, they should win. You know, they play well. They should win, but there's always that thing where it's like a struggle. You know, you get one or two players like even Aubameyang. You get 1-2 players, and you think, come on, man, come on, let's go. You know.
Hey, Tony, Aubameyang ain't scored since he signed his contract. Bertram, that's the question I had for you, Bertram. I just remembered what it was.
There you go. He's got this big money. But yeah, I think what Arteta's doing is he is instilling some discipline within the team, and not as wide open, and you can see what they're trying to do. He's still got a lot of work to do. You know, he's still got a lot of work to do. You know, Pepe, he's had he's been there one season, coming to his second season. Pepe really needs to find a place for him. It seems like he doesn't know what to do with Pepe yet. He's not sure about him. He needs to find a way for him. Partey coming in now, you know, that should solidify the midfield, and it should to give the guys in the back a bit more confidence than the guys going forward. But he's got some good players. He's been the young guys in Ketir and a few of the young guys, Saka. He's got some good young players. He just needs to get a solid first 11 that he can put out week in, week out, who can do the job. I think he's still tinkering at the moment, but as soon as he does that, I think I'll still be up there. You know, I'll still be up there. You know, 4th, 5th, 6th, that sort of place.
Excellent. So, guys, we move on to the last two. We've got Villa and Liverpool to do after this, the last one. And then this is the penultimate result. What in the blue daisies happened here, Ian?
I was going to say, if any of us on here say we successfully predicted these two games, we're lying.
We'd be on the beach in Miami if we did.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Harry Kane, 3 goals and 6 assists in his first 4 games.
It's amazing.
Son, 6 goals and 1 assist in his first 4 games.
So in 2 games, they've looked absolutely the most potent attacking force in the league, and in the other 2 games, they've played
poorly.
And it's like, exactly. And it's like, you know, they're almost the most Jekyll and Hyde team. I mean, obviously, Southampton played into their hands with that weird high line that they did a couple of weeks ago, but Spurs have looked sort of average against Everton and sort of abject against Newcastle, and then they come out and do this. I mean, Man United, talk about the wheels coming off. You know, 1-0 up after, 20-odd seconds from yet another penalty.
Ian, look at this one.
Well, yes. That was quite amusing, but I mean, Lamella, seriously, grow up. I mean, it was.
Oh yeah,
how they didn't. How they didn't both go up. That I don't understand. I know Martial's retaliation, but you know, football's gone, isn't it? When that sort of thing happens. I know those are the rules, but what Lamella did, he hit Martial far harder than Martial hit him, and to go down like a sack of spuds, I'm sorry, you lose all sort of respect from me. But then some of was it Shaw, wasn't it, that literally, I can't remember which Spurs player he annihilated. But how he stayed on the field for something like was that not a straight red for anyone else's eyes? I mean, Man United deserved to get spanked. They were abject. Defensively, they were abhorrent. I think Maguire.
They gave up.
Whether Maguire is still suffering slightly a hangover from what went on his holidays, I don't know. But he's been found out big time. They were just embarrassing, and Spurs, fair play to them, took advantage of it. And I don't know whether Kane and Son have got some sort of mind meld going over these last 3 weeks, but they're just exceptionally locked into each other. The free kick that Kane took, when it was a free kick, Kane put it on the floor. As soon as Kane had got that ball, Son had taken off. He was running. Man United, nobody moved. Son's going. Kane puts the ball on the floor, kicks it forward, goal. I mean, that was
just ridiculous. Yeah,
it
is
schoolboy football. It was an embarrassment. It was an absolute total embarrassment. I don't really know where Man United go from here, to be honest.
Pooch. Pochettino.
But we've thought that for the last year or so, haven't we? Really?
Yeah, and now it's definitely on the cards, mate.
Well, the trouble is they have their fans and what have you. They have such high expectations that anything less than competing for the championship and that sort of stuff is not going to be good enough. And this team's frankly not good enough. And like we were saying with Lampard earlier on, I don't think Solskjaer is a big league manager.
Well, Bertram, we're going to hear the kiss of death support from the owners and the chairman soon for Solskjaer. And that normally tells you, mate, you got till Christmas or you got the next 3 games. Where did you see this one, mate?
I thought it probably would have been a draw, actually, even though they Man U lost to Crystal Palace. I think there are a couple of things here. One is I do think Maguire is overrated. He's a tanker that can't turn. Yeah. It's hard to turn that tanker. He's good with the ball at his feet, but otherwise I think he's atrocious, frankly. Bailly has come back, but he's never been the player that they bought, that they expected. So he hasn't played as well. Lindelof is also not the best. So defensively, they're challenged. They don't know what to do their midfield because Pogba has not played well and is not fitting into that midfield, and he's supposed to be their best player. So they're really struggling with what team should be on the field, where players should be situated. Martial is not a center forward, even though he plays well. He's a good player. And frankly, there's something I found interesting, actually, which is in the UK, this perception that diving is bad and it's atrocious and should get rid of the game. While in South America, that means you're outwitting your opponent and you get over on them. Let's not forget Ahmed Rodriguez with Gibbs, where he felt as if he died. He got slit in the throat by a machete, and Gibbs got sent off when he just barely touched him, frankly. No different from what Lamella did. He's from Argentina. Ahmed is from Colombia. That's how it is in South America, which is you're outwitting your opponent. So what you think is atrocious, somebody else thinks is a great thing to do. And they think and actually they've benefited, and both teams benefited because, Everton was challenged with West Brom at that time. And similar we saw with Spurs and Man U, it was only a 2-1 game when that transpired. So it's really interesting to see the dynamics in terms of how different countries or different regions view some of these antics, I'll call them. But look, Man U is, I'm not going to knock Solskjaer. At one point last season, I think they were at 21 games. They didn't give up a goal or some crazy stat. They did really, really well. Let the season play a little bit first. We're really early in the season. We have only gone through 4 games. People get panicked. I remember listening to Talk Sports, which I do whenever I'm working out, and hearing West Ham fans going to jump off the bridge because Dire Straits, the owners were the worst thing ever since sliced bread. Frankly, I'm going to digress here. The owners have only taken $20 million or £10 million out of West Ham over the last 10 years. Now, if I'm a business person and I bought a team for all this money and I don't take $20 million, you should fire me because I don't know how to run business. I don't know how to do business. Yeah, I'm wasting my money in a football team just sitting there when I could go put in the market and earn, God knows, if you put in the S&P 500, you're going to return at least double digits a year, you can double and triple your money. You
Yeah.
bought Apple, you'd have been 28 times your money in the last 10 years. So these fans were losing their minds about owners taking a few money, because Arsenal owners took out $3 million consulting fee, and we're losing our minds. They spend billions, $100 million for their team. They could invest the money someplace else. Now, granted, the team do appreciate, but let's not lose our minds about owners taking money out of a team that they own. I'm sorry, maybe I'm used to American team owners who don't really care about.
You're totally
their
right.
performance.
I've
It
said
makes no
the same
sense.
thing to a lot- Yeah, I've said the same thing to a lot of British fans. Yeah, you're totally right.
The logic escapes me. But back to the team, which is, I do think Manny's going to have a challenging season. Let's see what Cavani does, actually. Because I think Cavani, if he's the old Cavani, may miss a lot of goals, but he's pressure defenders. But they have to fix their defense. Now, with Spurs, I don't think people realize this, but Jose's trying to win the league. So what he has done, actually, is he needs to continue to improve his defense. He's bought wing backs or fullbacks or attacking fullbacks. We talked about Doherty and his assist last year. Same thing with, what's his name? The French guy who plays on the right, who did really well last week. Right? And on the left, he has a player just bought from Real Madrid. Very attacking players. So what he has done is put Sissoko and Holbrook in the middle, who are real defensive. So Sissoko is an exceptional defensive player. And the kid from Southampton he just bought also is very good defensively. So he's packed the middle. He's going to attack to the wings. He has 3 exceptional players up front. They're a very dangerous team. I know they started out really challenged, but frankly, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. He's getting his ideas across. And either they explode or they do really well. But if you look at the composition of their team, Dyer is not the answer. I think Sanchez is okay. But if you have those 2 center midfielders who don't need to be creative, you put Bale and Song and Kane up front. You put somebody in behind them if he plays 4 at the back. Maybe he plays 3 at the back, it'll be a different construct. And it's a really interesting team that will be formidable going forward and formidable to deal with throughout the season. If they don't have injuries, because Bale plays when he feels like it.
Tony, are you worried about Spurs at this point?
Yeah, I think Spurs are, as you said, the first couple of games they didn't look that great, and in these 2 games they have. Southampton were terrible when they beat them. You could just see what was going to happen all the time. This game here, I wouldn't beat up Solskjaer that much on this one. It was down to his players. There's no way his players should have just, kind of capitulated and just kind of gave up. There's no way they should. All of them, they're accountable. He put them out there. And look at Manchester United. The 10. If you look at the 10 players Manchester United had out there, they're 10 decent players. So you couldn't hold. You can't hold Spurs to maybe a 2-1, a 3-1.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that with 10. Surely you can. So those guys, those 10 players and who were out there, have got to look at themselves. They have to. They have to look at themselves and think, you know what, we let ourselves down. I can't put this on ourselves. It's the 10 players out there. They were terrible. With Spurs, Spurs are, if they carry on, they're going to look like the Spurs that were a couple of years ago under Poch, when they were fighting up there when they were second, third. If they carry on, and then obviously they've got the manager now who's got experience of winning leagues, not like Poch. So they can be dangerous. Spurs. I think Spurs will be dangerous.
Yeah, we've actually got James, our Spurs fan here, reckons that we're all talking about Eric Dyer might be an issue at centre-back, and he actually prefers him over Sanchez.
He's like Maguire. He can't turn. He's a truck. He's a tanker. Can't turn.
Maguire. Yeah, Maguire. Look, Maguire. What Maguire has to do, he has to drop back a couple of yards if he's playing with a striker. Because if a striker's on his shoulder, once he's turned, he's gone. Maguire won't catch him. There's no way.
80 million.
He's fast enough. Well, that was a panic. That was kind of a panic buy. When they went for him, it was a panic buy. 80 million for Maguire. Well, he done well in the World in the what was the Euros or was it World Cup? Yeah. And then after that, you know what happens? Prices always get inflated. But once in this game here, Spurs did well, but Man U, I've got to give Solskjaer a lie. The players have got to look at themselves with this one.
Yeah, I have to agree. I've got a big shout out to Sal here. Sal is thank you for the donation, my friend. Much appreciated. And he's talking about Arsenal, saying we need creativity. Wah is the answer. There's a poll up on the YouTube channel which is actually asking that question. Now we've sorted out the midfield. What do we do for our creativeness? And I put some names up on there. I put Maddison up on there, and I've obviously put Awar on there as well. And I've also put Saka. So have a think about that, Arsenal fans. Rose, where did you see this one?
Yeah, I thought Spurs would just edge it. I just think like United haven't been very good in the opening couple of games, like against Palace. I think Maguire, the whole thing is, if he looked good at Leicester because they play a lot further back. When he has to play on the on the halfway line almost for United, he's just far too slow. Spurs look really dangerous, in my opinion. And I think regarding the penalty thing, it's just, for me, Spurs were on top even before that. I think they look like way more dangerous. I think Son had that chance to put them even further ahead. And in my opinion, to be honest, Martial shouldn't give Lamela the chance to go down like that. It's easy to say, well, these South American players go down too easily. But once you put a hand to a face, like that's pretty much you're giving the referee a decision to make. And to be honest, in terms of the James one, we've had so many decisions go against us over the years that win by any means. Like I want us to see, I want us to see us to be a little bit, bit nasty, because we're very nice, Everton, and I think now no more. We need to actually employ these tactics. Because I feel like if that had been a full Old Trafford, would that penalty have been given? I'm not too sure with 75,000 United fans screaming at the ref. And yeah, I think, to be honest, I'm a huge fan of United, and I think it's good for them to get a little bit of a little bit of a bit of it back. Was it United where I think they went a year without conceding a penalty at Old Trafford or something ridiculous,
Crazy.
like maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I think, I'm really not. I'm glad for Spurs because I think Mourinho, the players just down tools, and I think those players are probably going to do the same for Solskjaer.
Yeah, and look, it's going to be a cracking season. So some of the games, Spurs versus Everton, we obviously know about that, and we know about all the derbies up there, Man United, Liverpool. There's just going to be some cracking games. I agree with Bertrand. This is going to be the most exciting season that we've had in many, many, many years. The last game, guys, Aston Villa 7, Liverpool 2. We're going to let Tony, our Liverpool correspondent, go in and let us know what his thoughts are before we go to Ian.
Like I said, you're the heavyweight champ of the world. You're walking around really, really big balls. You walk in and you get knocked out cold in the first round. You know what? It's just one of them. Villa played really, really well. We just thought, if we carry on doing what we're doing, we'll go and we'll score more goals than them.
Yeah.
I would have been, I would have been more disappointed if we played really well and lost 2-1 or 3-1. I would have been really, really, really disappointed. But this one, sometimes things just happen, We didn't change anything. We tried to carry on playing the same way. And it's just one of them, Every big team has been battered at least once. This is the first time I've known we've been battered in a long while. I can't think of this.
I can't remember the last time
we've been battered. all the years when we weren't even playing that well. I can't remember the last time we were really, really battered. Maybe City. I remember City beat us 5-1. We got Mane sent off a couple of seasons ago. But with 11 men. So it's anomaly.
I just want to say a few things, Tony. In my tactical view of the game, Liverpool always play the high line under Jurgen Klopp. The problem is when you're playing a high line, you have to depend on a few factors which are really important, and that's your team closing down and defending from the front. So your front three players, when you play a high line, you're dependent on those to put heat on the back end. Your defenders being switched onto the balls over the top. So you push up on a high line. You have to make sure you get the first step on a high line ball, and your goalkeeper also sweeping up. They did none of that.
Yeah, usually, our front guys, Salah, well, Mane wasn't around, but our front guys are usually the first rule of defence. Even times when Ian Rush and them guys were around, it was always that. I think we missed Alisson. I think we did miss him. But there's no real excuse for Liverpool. We're just sort of bad. I mean, up front in the midfield, we didn't hold anything at the back. The same balls going over the top. Aston Villa didn't really have to do anything major. They just knew what to do. Just carry on doing the same thing because we didn't change. If they would have seen us change our shape or something, they might have changed the way they're playing. But they knew they were just getting success all the time. It's just one of them. We were just.
So when is Mane back?
Poor, man. He should be back for the Villa game because it was only the COVID thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he should be back. But I don't even really put it down to even Mane so much. I think because Mane don't play in the back four. We were just bad, and we deserved to lose. And Villa just took advantage of our sloppiness. And hopefully this is a wake up call for us because we haven't been playing well all season. We haven't started off that great. We still got a hangover from last season. We haven't started off great, and I think this, against Everton, it'd be a good leveler. Now, I think this would be the time when we have to say, right, okay, let's look at this now because we'll have Thiago available, and Mane will be back, and we should have Alisson back hopefully, and then
because I think he's 4 to 6 weeks. Alisson is.
So we're gonna, so we might struggle without him at the back. But I think Everton's a good game to have now because that'd be a good leveler for us.
Excellent, Ian. Well, I don't even know what to say. Ian, 3 deflections in one game, and Villa missed some sitters. It could have been 10.
I was going to come to the deflection. It's interesting. Confidence is such a big thing. We were talking about confidence earlier on. I can't remember about which team, but confidence is such a big thing. And obviously, Alisson missing. And I did hear a stat about the amount of starts Adrian has made. I mean, obviously, I know a lot about Adrian from his time at West Ham, but there's something about the amount of starts he's made for Liverpool. They've only kept 2 clean sheets. He's started a good number of games now for Liverpool. They've only kept 2 clean sheets while he's been there. So the defence are automatically slightly more on the back foot than they are when they've got Alisson at the back. We had that conversation last week about goalkeepers, didn't we? About who's the best.
We did. Yeah.
And confidence is a big thing. I mean, I know back from my ice hockey days that if you got your number 1 netminder, the defence played so much better because they could go forward with confidence. They could play with confidence because they know the guy at the back is going to get them out of the shit if they get in there. But if you're not sure about that, you're playing slightly tentatively, you're playing slightly off and all that sort of stuff. And of course, the first goal was a total clanger from Adrian. So if they were starting the game out slightly tentative, you've only got to see a massive cock up like that and you're going, oh shit. We've got Adrian at the back, and then the whole defensive creativity, confidence went in the pan, and Villa took advantage of it. I mean, fair play to Villa. I think it was a great management on behalf of Villa. I think the way they played Barkley in his first game coming in on loan from Chelsea, I think he was a revelation. The way they played him much further up the pitch than you would expect to see him play. His and Grealish's play together was fantastic, and of course
I was going to come on to that.
Yeah.
And Watkins had a coming out party, and of course you ally to those 3 deflections that you mentioned. You can lay the blame at Adrian for maybe 3 of the goals, but when you get 3 wicked deflections like that, it's just not going to be your day. Villa were good value for the win. They thoroughly deserved the win, but I think, like Tony said, you like the champion. When you are the champion, you're the big boys. Everyone wants to knock you off, and they got caught by a right hook in the first minute, and they never recovered. And,
that's right.
And I think knowing Klopp, I mean, what better game could they have? And of course, Rose will know about this as well. What better game could they have to come back from a result like that?
Yeah.
They've got the Merseyside derby.
Absolutely.
They're not going to need too much revving up, are they, in the locker room? They've got their own pride to play for, and it's the Merseyside derby. I think we'll see the Liverpool we've come to know this weekend, next weekend. It should be an absolute barn burner of a game.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute barn burner. So fair play to Villa, thoroughly deserved the result, but
absolutely,
unlike what we were saying about Man United, where I think the problem is deeper and we may see that sort of capitulation happen again, I don't think we'll necessarily see that with Liverpool.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I made the point, I was talking to Bertram last week when we had our Sunday stream, and I said to them, Barkley and Jack Grealish are, for teams with your pressing style, City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, etc., it's going to be extremely difficult to press these midfielders, because when you're pressing midfielders, the one thing that you have the ability to do is knock them off their game. Bull rush, and we know as Arsenal fans that Xhaka is like a deer in the headlights when you press him, and he's not, because he's not good at the ball, he's not good with the ball at his feet. These two guys, Barkley and Grealish, are excellent with the ball at their feet, and there were times that Liverpool was pressing them in the midfield and they just went straight by them. And that's, teams are gonna, when I saw that, I was like, whoa. And I was like to see some top quality teams, Chelsea, Man City, to try and press these guys, because they have so much quality in the middle of the park. Bertram.
So much to unpack here. Very disappointed with the score. I thought it should have been 12 and 12 easily. Really disappointed.
In New York, man.
No, because Barkley missed 3 sitters. Watkins hit the bar. No, we're talking about easy goals. We're not talking about difficult goals now. Easy 12 easily, and I would have felt much better. So I was very disappointed, frankly. I do think a few things. One is Liverpool plays a high line just like City does. What Liverpool has gotten away with over the years, which Villa caught them on, because Villa coach really did a good job, which is when you have a set piece, what they do is most teams push the defenders back. So when the ball's going to be kicked, they go back to defend. Liverpool pushed their defenders up. What Villa did was put 2 men behind the defense as their offside position. Those 2 players then didn't play the ball. They came out, and the other players go forward. So I'm not sure people realize that strategy that they employ, which is you can offside if you're behind, in front of the defense, and you're going forward, and you can be offside if you're walking out and you're not playing the ball. And Liverpool has done this over the last 2 or 3 years, and no one's caught onto it. So I'm glad Villa did. Villa did a very good job of holding the ball up. That's what I was impressed by Watkins, which is when the ball came to him, he wasn't losing the ball. So then he bring other players into play. And I'm a big fan of Grealish, and I'm surprised that the England coach has found it so difficult to put Grealish in the field, because he's probably one of England's best players by a good margin, frankly, because very few people can't run fast and play on the wing and are very effective. And he's very effective. He doesn't lose the ball. It's like a Zaha when he gets the ball. He's very confident. He plays in a very tight space. He's a very, very good player. But the entire Villa team played well. And frankly, look, people are blaming Adrian. I'm sorry, but Adrian could have been Alisson and 6 of Alisson. He's not saving some of those goals because the defense was leaky. There was no defense there. The deflections, I agree. 3 in 1 game, they still scored 4 goals. And remember this. Leeds scored 3 goals and could have drawn that game without the kid they bought, even though it's a stupid penalty.
Yeah, and our midfield as well. Even though you've got the back 4, the midfield has to help out. And we were poor. The whole thing defensively, as a team, defensively poor.
Yeah, I mean, you had no Thiago, you had no Henderson, you had no Alisson, you had no Mane. You're missing quite a bit of 4 starters, frankly, from your team. But having said that, though, you have a very good team, right? You have a very good 16, 17 players, so you shouldn't have been affected as much. But look, I mean, I think Villa has bought well. Villa spent a lot of money last year, over 100 million. They barely stayed up. If that Sheffield goal had been given, they would have gone down. But this year, I think they have bought better, right? They bought Barkley on loan. They bought Watkins. They bought better players. And they bought the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, frankly, because he came from Arsenal.
I think they have. I think they have the best goalkeeper.
You're still on that.
So look, it was a great result. I'm only disappointed in the score because it should have been 12, and that would be something to talk about. If you scored double-digit against the champion, who only lost 2 games last season, that's something to be proud of forever. So Disappointed in the score, but good win for Villa.
Right, Rose, what did you think of this one? Rose, my God, you must have fell off your chair when you saw this result.
I don't really want to say too much really until next
go
weekend.
On.
It's just going to come back to haunt me, I know. No, I think honestly, like the loan of Barkley, I think he just had too much pressure at Chelsea, and there was just too many players ahead of him. I think, Barkley and Grealish will be a really good combination. He's really good on the ball. Barkley was just so frustrating. He was probably, like you say, he missed the 3 sitters, but he's probably one of his best performances I've seen, just in terms of making the right pass decision and going forward. He's just very inconsistent at doing that. So maybe Villa fans might notice that soon. I think Graham Souness on Sky said something interesting about the defence. I know some of you blaming Adrian. He said that at some point he would have expected Van Dijk just to say, let's step back. Let's take a couple of steps back because they're just breaking it through us constantly. And so it's interesting that, that conversation didn't happen, whether, like you say, Liverpool are just tired off the back of last season or, just a bit, not that bothered as they're already champions. I'm not sure, but I don't really want us to face the backlash of this one, but I think that we will, and Liverpool will be right up for this one, and it'll be a really good game, and hopefully the blue side might win for once in 10 years. So we'll see.
I think with Liverpool, they've got blasé. They think if it's a shootout, they win. So if Villa go down and score, we'll go and score. If they go and score, we'll go and score. It didn't work out like that.
But even when they played us, even though Liverpool dominated the ball, we should have scored more goals. Like I said, I had a one-on-one with the keeper. He was offside once, which is pretty close. And he had another one where he could have scored. It would have been 2-2 game.
Yeah. So
the defense hasn't... People get behind... Like I said, get behind your defense, you should be concerned.
Yeah, because he ain't getting behind no defense. He ain't getting behind no defense.
Yeah.
So guys, that's it for this week. I just want to thank everybody on the panel. Thank you, Rose. First time. I hope you're going to come back to the show and talk about your team. And,
great job, Rose. Good meeting you.
Yeah.
Excellent. And guys, remember, we are here every Friday at 10 o'clock to talk about the results in the Premier League. So all of you guys who are watching in the chat, thank you for all your input. And we welcome fans from other teams as well, because that's what we're here to talk about. But next week is going to be, there's no football next week. So we'll either do a roundup of the transfer fees and then probably do some predictions. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. So guys, that's it from us this week. And on to the international.
Thanks.
Take care, guys. Nice one, guys.
Take care.